Hey there, it's Elizabeth, and welcome back to a different type of video today. At the beginning of this week, I showed a little bit at the end of my ramble session about the Lapbooks that my kids used to make when they were in like elementary and middle school. And a Lapbook is just a way of learning things in a fun way. So it's basically a book filled with unit studies on whatever we were studying. And the book that I made, which is this one here, I said it was like 2.5 inches. It's more like 3 inches thick. And the question I had was, could I show you how I made it? Well, I will do my best. This was about 10 years ago when we made this, so I'm really having to try to rack my brain. We did make it out of this was the base of the book right here. And this is like a medical file folder that you can get at the office supply store. And it has 2 sections in it, right? And it's very hard. It's a hardback file folder. And what we would do as homeschooling moms, I was part of a couple of homeschooling groups. And so the women that were doing these types of unit studies in their history literature program at their homes, we would all kind of get together and buy these as a group because they are expensive to purchase, like a whole box of these types of file folders. So we would just get together and buy the box and split it up amongst, 3 or 4 of us. So that's how we did that. And then we would also get boxes of file folders and do the same thing. So that's how we got our file folders. And that's really, I don't know how to explain it all. But we used a series of file folders, and I'll show you how I made a couple of the books in here. And we would then glue them into this file folder, making it one huge book of all the unit studies that we had learned. This book was used for an entire year of history/literature. This is how I chose to teach my kids literature and history because it's just a really fun way to learn. And I found that my children retain the information a lot better. And like I said, it's a lot more fun than telling your kids, here, read this chapter and then fill in the blanks on this ditto, right? No, I did not do that with my kids. I was a very hands-on teacher. Sometimes they appreciated it, sometimes not so much. But yeah, we had so much fun doing these books. And thank you again so much for your overwhelming response. You guys were so sweet in your comments about these lap books. And Mamey asked me a question as well. Sweet Mamey, I'll leave her link below. She does a lot of book reviews. And she just left the sweetest comment, saying, well, a couple of you did, saying that you wish that I had been your teacher and I would have loved to have had you in my classroom. So yeah, of course, in this case, my classroom only had 2 students, right? So anyway, a little bit easier to do a lap book with 2 kids versus 52 children. Because that's how many I taught when I was a teacher in the public school system. 52 kids. I team taught with another teacher, but we each had our separate classes with 26 children each. So together we had 52 kids and we taught them at the same time. I digress. Okay, let's get into this. Now, let's start. Let's just start, shall we? This is from Deb. So Deb, I hope you're watching and I hope I answer your question adequately. Okay, so this is what I came up with. All right. Sorry for the glare. Okay, this whole book, again, is a series of unit studies that we studied, during this time in my kids' lives and in their history curriculum. I did not go by a specific curriculum. I did not purchase a specific curriculum, and I didn't go by a specific curriculum. I kind of made it up as I went along, thinking up ways to ways for my kids to have fun for the different assignments that I had them do. Okay. I hope this all makes sense. Okay. So, This part right here is made, this is all about King Arthur and the Knights of Camelot. This part right here is made from 2 file folders, okay? And they're cut up and glued in such a way that they're flips and flaps and whatever. But the base of it is just a single file folder, and then I glued it onto the cover of this right here, okay? So this was the first part of our unit study for the year. Now, what kind of glue I used? It was 10 years ago. I can't remember what I ate yesterday. So, it could have been white school glue. It could have been rubber cement. I'm not really sure. All of these things here were glued on with just a glue stick, I believe. Some of the things, I mean, these are 10 years old, so some of the things are coming apart, some are not. So anyway, so let me show you how I made this one here. Okay, so let's scoot this out of the way. And let me get my not permanent, my repositional tape, just so I can show you how I did this. Okay, so this is how I did it. Okay, I had I had 2 file folders, okay, that one of them is cut down, one of them is not. This was the original base, okay? So what I did was I did cut off the tab on this right-hand side, okay? Then what I did was I took this file folder, okay, that was together, and I cut it off, right? Now, in file folders, there's like little gussets, right? So I folded it in, okay? And then what I did was I would run a bead of glue. We're just going to use repositional tape, okay? I would run a bead of glue, and then I would stick the flap, right, underneath or on top of. It really didn't make a difference, honestly. But let's do it this way. Hello, Elizabeth. Okay, so I would take this and I would just simply attach it to the back of the file folder. Okay, so now we have a trifold file folder. All right, so that's how that went. And then I took the leftover from this file folder so that nothing was wasted, and I simply made a tab on that, right? So I would fold that down, and then again, I would run a bead of glue, okay? And then I would take this part and make it a flap on, I hope you can see this, on the top, all right? So this is exactly how I did the King Arthur book, all right? So then when you close it all up like this, there you have it, okay? Then you would take your glue, whatever kind of glue you wanted to use. These days I'd probably use Fabri-Tac or, you know, maybe hot glue, something like that. You would glue the entire back, and then you would take your medical folder, right? And you would glue the entire thing onto here, okay? And then there you would have it. This would be the first part. Sorry if I'm shaking you about. This would be the first part of your book, and then you would put all of your stuff in it. So let me just go through this real fast, because I told y'all I could talk about my kids' work all day long. We had so much fun homeschooling. Okay, so in the Knights of Camelot, I got these pictures either out of coloring books or off the computer. They colored them in. They designed their own covers. I had extra pretty ribbon, you know, so they did whatever they wanted to do. Scrapbook paper, you name it. This was back in my scrapbooking days. So see, here's the inside that I just showed you with this, right? This is it right here. Whoops, that came unglued or untaped or whatever. Let's tape that. Okay. So this would open like this, and then this here would open upward, okay? And then you have all this real estate to put all your different activities on. So after we would read our library books or read the books that we were using to study, again, I didn't have a curriculum for this. I just made it up as I went along. And of course, using the inspiration and ideas from the groups of ladies that I homeschooled with. We would all share ideas and what we were doing and all that kind of stuff. So we read about King Arthur. And then I tried to make the book as interactive as I could. So like this right here is about the sword and the stone. So my kids took scrapbook paper and made their own sword. And they wrote, "Whoso pulleth out the sword from this stone is born the rightful king of England." Okay. So then down here is just a little stone that I made and popped up on some tape, put a little slit into it so that the sword went in, put a piece of Velcro on the back so it's removable, right? Then we read the story. We would read the story, we would get library videos, you know, so we watched the movie, The Sword and the Stone. And then my kids' assignment was to write a summary of the story. So they, back in this time too, they did a lot of stuff. Well, they did a lot of stuff by hand, as you can see here, but they did do a lot of stuff on the computer too. We would just use Word on our computer, and they would type it all up and print it out and put it in their book. And then this right here was about the 13 treasures of Britain. So my kids, this is my daughter's book. So the kids wrote all the 13 treasures and then drew these little cute little illustrations on all of them. And then we learned about the Holy Grail. So they took a piece of shiny scrap paper and made their own goblet, and then they wrote about it, you know. So whenever we learned about something, their assignment then would be to write about it in some way, shape, or form. One of the book series that I told you in the last video that we used was called The Horrible Histories. And I know some of you, especially from the UK, remember that series. And back then, I don't even know if we even knew what YouTube was way back during this time, right? But now apparently they have the series on YouTube. So I'm going to have to look for that. And then this thing here opens up, right? Let me move it down so you can see it. Okay. So this I either printed out from a book that we were using or something offline, and it's Arthur's World. So it's all the different places in, King Arthur's world. So they had to label it and things like that. Whoops. Then this part right here, some of the assignments, you know, like I said, I wanted to make them interesting. This was a super cute thing that they had to do. They had to make a most wanted poster. So they did this on the computer. And then I think, let me see, did they, They just printed it out on scrapbook paper. No, this is like a piece of vellum, I think, that they printed it out on. She drew a little picture of the Silver Knight. That is the knight that was most wanted. And then we had to look up what is on a most wanted poster. So they had to include all the things that are on a typical most wanted poster. So this dude's name was the Silver Knight. His alias was Mr. Silver, or the Ghost Knight. His date of birth was the 5th century. His birthplace was London. His occupation was a silver thief and master of disguise, and on and on. So, and they could be as, you know, funny as they wanted to be, that, you know, whatever the case was, they just, you know, needed to do it in a creative way. And they always did like the greatest job. This guy's complexion is white as a ghost. So funny. Yeah. And then we read a story by Tennyson. And so I just printed out the story, and that's what this was about. And then over here, if you can see this is just like a little pocket that I made for the kids out of scrapbook paper. And my daughter was to pretend that she was Queen Guinevere and she was writing to Sir Lancelot. So she was writing a love note. So she wrote a love note to him telling him to meet her at the southern field behind the old willows because King Arthur's suspicions had grown. So yeah, that was super fun to do. And then we just tucked it right in there into that pocket. And then here's Sir Lancelot here, just a picture I got offline or from a book, and photocopied it. And then she wrote a little web about all the different things about him. And then this was like a roundabout thing that is attached by a brad, and it has all of the knights, you know, so like Sir Bors, he was killed while on a crusade in the Holy Land. Sir Balin kills the Lady of the Lake, anyway, who raised Lancelot, anyhow. So, found the emblem of the knights and printed that out so that they knew what that looked like. And so, yeah, that's how this goes. So, that's how this one here went. Okay, so made out of 2 file folders, cut down to size, attached on the edges, and with a flip up. Okay, and then once you get all that done, you simply glue the whole thing into your book. Now, some of these books I would prepare ahead of time and then they'd fill them up, and other times they were a work in progress. So if I needed a new flap, I had to attach a new flap. Kind of like when you're junk journaling. And a lot of you made mention of that in the ramble session, that, you know, we were doing junk journaling and stuff like that before we even knew it was a thing. So that was that one. I'll do really quickly, I'll try to show you how I did this one. This one here is all about the Vikings. It was a unit study on the Vikings. And it is made, this was actually, this whole thing was glued onto, and I'll show you here. This whole thing, see, you can see the tab right up here, if you can see the tab there. This whole book about the Vikings was glued on here, on this one flap, okay? So, this is how I made this one. Okay, so we have lots of flips and flaps, all right? So it opens up this way. Then this one actually opens up this way. I hope you can see this. This one opens this way. Sorry for the glare. It's shiny paper. Then this one flips up, okay? Then there are 2 folders attached here. So this goes in like this. This goes here. Then it's attached to another folder that actually opens up. Here's another flip, right, that opens up. Another fun thing I found. This is Thor's hammer. Oh my gosh. These are just treasured by me. So this little thing here flips up. This was like all about the different Viking gods. So it all flips up, and their assignment was to write about Odin and write about Valhalla and all of that. This is the other side of one of the, if you can see that, this is the other side of one of the books. This is actually another part of a file folder. And then this lifts up here too. So God only knows how many file folders went into the making of the Viking book, but I will try to show you. Okay, so here we go. Okay. Oh, let me show you one thing too. Okay, so hang on. I need a file folder. Seriously? Okay, we'll just use this one. Okay, originally a lapbook, or how you would do a lapbook, would be that you would actually take just one file folder like this, right? And you would fold it in half, okay? With the tabs meeting. We'll just do this roughly, okay? So this is actually how lapbooks, to my knowledge, started out, right? You took one file folder, you opened it up all the way, and then you folded it so that the tabs met in the center, okay? And then we just like put it on acid and went, and you know, they grew. So this one here is like, this started out as one of those, okay? So it's like this, right? Then over here, okay, let's take this out. I hope I don't confuse myself. And so you had two folders like this, right? That were folded in half and then put together. Then I took these 2 and glued them together, okay? So we'll try it. So I glued those together like that, okay? Then, let me see how I did this in the other book. Okay, so you have a flap here like this. Here's the center of the book, if you can see that. Okay, let's see what I did here. Okay. All right. So then what I did was I took an extra file folder and cut it down. Okay. Cut it in half, folded it like we did the other one, right? And then I taped it onto here. Okay. All right. So let's move this out of the way. Okay. So now you have one flap, two flaps. Here's the center of the book. Then I took this one, right? And I did the same thing as I did on the first one. And I made this into a flap. Okay. So there's the first, oh, this isn't sticking. So there's like the first half of the book. Okay. But then we attach the second part, right? Okay. So this, and it all folds in on itself. Gosh, I hope this is making sense. Okay. So then we had this one here that is just not sticking properly or something. Okay. So we had this one here. Okay. This was our second one, right? That we had. So we attached the two flaps together to make it an even longer book. And then let's see how I did this one. Okay. Then I do believe that I did the same thing, only opposite. Okay. What I did here, I do believe, is I cut off the tab on this side, right? And then I glued this whole thing in so that it was a giant space, right? I had this one extra, you know, because I had cut off part of a file folder. So I would take this, right? And I would glue it on the side here, okay? So then this would open up this way. Let's see if I'm doing this properly. I think. Let's see here. Yep. And then, yeah, this whole thing, I hope I'm in frame. This whole thing was glued in together like that, okay? Then this folded in this way, or I'm sorry. Okay, so here we are. This folded in this way, this in this way, and then it folded all together like that. And then it folded like that. Now I have an extra one here. Let's see where I put that. Oh, let's see here. Okay. Oh, you know what I did? Okay. So this one here, I think, is this one? No, there's two. Okay, this here, I did pretty much the same thing where, you know, I folded it over. Okay. And this is where we had our gods, our Viking gods. And then I just glued that in there like that. So this all folded inward. Well, that's a little bit big, but you get the idea. Then this folded in this way, right? These were all attached. And then like this. And then it all closed up into one book, okay? Then I would just simply glue the entire back like crazy. And this whole unit study on the Vikings would then be glued into the first tab, okay, of the book. All right. So that is how I did. Let's bring this back. That's how I did the Viking thing. Okay. Yeah. It's got a lot of flips and flaps. I hope I explained to you how I put the books together. It's literally just a series of file folders put together, glued in a way that you have all this real estate to put all the different, you know, things that you're learning on. So there is that. I hope that it made sense. You know, if you guys want to see some of the books that my kids have done, I would be more than happy to share them with you, because I love going through these books and reminiscing and seeing what my kids did and remembering how much fun we had and how much, just how blessed we were to homeschool our kids. And yeah, we had a lot of fun, and I hope that it carried on with them. And yeah, that's it. Oh, another question that was asked was, how many books did my kids make? We made these, you know, in early elementary, middle elementary, and middle school, not so much in high school. And so my kids probably each have about a half a dozen apiece, I would say. Not huge like this, but we did do one on the ancient Greeks. We did one on, Oh gosh, I can't remember. I have a whole copy box full of them. And so yeah, if you want to see some more about them, I'd love to show you if you're interested in that. A little tangent off of my journaling and junk journaling and Fibonacciing and all that, but I just thought I'd come on here to answer Deb's question on how I made these file folder books in order to teach my kids unit studies in history and literature. So, yep. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, leave your comments below, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks.